In today's video, we're going to be talking about how you can overcome overwhelm or decision paralysis, decision fatigue. If you are renovating a space, you just want to restyle a space, you literally just want to swap out a vase, but you can't do it because you've been scrolling on Pinterest way too much, and you, my friend, are now a victim of the Pinterest effect, which in my mind is a real thing because I've experienced it. When you're saving a million different images and ideas to boards because you really want to renovate your kitchen, but you're just not sure where to start. So you think, I'll go onto Pinterest, there'll be so many ideas there, and then I'll know what to do. Wrong. When we are flooded with a million ideas, that's when we get into trouble. And that's what today's video is going to be about: how to avoid this from happening, where to start if you have no idea where to start, or if you're in that swamp of indecision, and how you can get the best outcome for yourself. So let's get into the video. My name's Hannah. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're watching again, if you're a regular viewer, welcome back. As I've just mentioned, Pinterest is quite commonly a go-to for most of us when we're looking for inspiration, whether it's through design, fashion, homewares, anything, DIY. Like, it's a really great tool. However, sometimes we can rely on it a little bit too heavily. It can become this really slippery slope if we rely on it too much to inform every decision-making process that we're going through when we're looking to upgrade our home or just change it up. So if that sounds like you and you are trapped in this shitstorm of the Pinterest effect, keep watching, because I'm going to give you some tips of how to get out of that and how to be really steadfast in your decision making. And I'm going to give you ways to have anchors and like North Stars for every decision that you need to make when you're looking at the interior design of your home. So we're going to talk about what is it that's actually causing your decision paralysis, where to start if you have no idea where to start, and things to avoid so that you don't keep making the same mistakes. So let's get into the first topic, which is what is actually causing your decision paralysis. When you're scrolling on Pinterest, at first it seems really fun and lighthearted, and you're saving lots of pins and you're like, oh yeah, that one, I love that. I love that style. I love that style. And you go for maybe half an hour, maybe you're on it for the whole day. I don't know. But at the end of it, you are left with maybe a board or several boards that have a complete mix of interior design styles and aesthetics. That is the first thing that's going to send you into a bit of a spiral of indecision. You might naturally be really drawn to a minimalist approach to design, but you've seen something that has sparked this idea that no, actually, maybe I'm really maximalist and I love this whole idea of like having lots of stuff in my house and it's really like collectible and there's a lot going on. And that's the Pinterest effect. That is Pinterest telling you that, hey, maybe that actually is what you like, but there you have a classic example of two decisions and you don't know which one to pick. So you end up going back and forth, yo-yoing between the two, between the three, between the five, between the 10 different styles, and you're back at square one of not knowing where to start, and you're questioning yourself, you're questioning your beliefs around your interior design aesthetics and what you like. When we have too many options, it sends our brain into overdrive. There are endless possibilities of what we could do, and when we don't have limitations, which humans need, I believe, in order to make decisions, it's nearly impossible. It is so hard to design a space from scratch, or if you don't have any sort of guiding restrictions or limitations that will help you to make these decisions. The limitations are your friend. They are the things that are going to inform what you can and can't do. And trust me, people think like when you talk about limitations, oh, that's so shit. I wish I was just like free and didn't have any limitations and I could just do whatever I want. But then when push comes to shove and you get into that scenario, it is a shitstorm, my friends. So trust that limitations are actually going to help you get the best outcome. So when I'm talking about limitations, I'm talking about things like budget, existing finishes that you can't remove from the house, whether you're renting or it's just too expensive to change. It might be existing paint colors, the light levels in the rooms, the furniture that you already have that you aren't going to replace. These are good things to impose on your decision-making process because they will guide you and act as a bit of an anchor toward what the next steps are going to look like. So the next step is to determine what these limitations are. What are these things that you know are kind of non-negotiables that are going to have to remain in the house, that are going to have to be a part of the interior design aesthetic? Maybe it is furniture, maybe it's your partner's sofa that you really hate, but they really love and you have to keep it. Okay, that's fine. We know that's one limitation and we have to kind of work with that. Maybe you have timber flooring, maybe you have grey vinyl flooring. These are things that you really just need to take into consideration and know that perhaps they're not going to be interchangeable. Maybe you can cover them up slightly, but you kind of at the end of the day have to work with them. The limitations include obviously budget. Everyone has a budget that they're working to. It doesn't matter what the scale of the project is, how much cash you have. Budget is always going to come into play when we're looking at redesigning a space. Other limitations or restrictions include pets, children. Obviously, you're not going to have a crisp white sofa with pets and children. It's just, I would say, I don't have kids, but I mean, it's not something I would ever do if I did have kids. So I'm assuming that if that is the case for you, that is a bit of a write-off. You're not going to be doing that. So think about functionality and practicality with these limitations. Once you have figured out what your limitations are, whether they're big or small, it doesn't matter. Everyone's going to have at least one. Then we want to start thinking about how you can plan out your space. How do you want it to function? How can you make it as functional as possible within these restrictions and confines? How can you make the space act in a way that's going to serve you and your partner or your family in the best possible way? Think about how you use the space every day, how you want to use the space. Do you want to get more out of it? Is it a new space that you've never lived in? If that is the case, then I would suggest not jumping straight into this, but living in the space for at least a month to really get a feel for it and see how the light interacts in the space, how much time you actually spend in there. Is it like a central hub for you and your family, or is it kind of an area that you don't tend to sort of be pulled towards that much? Think about the functionality of it. And as that famous saying goes, form follows function. So what that means is you want to think about the practicality, how the space actually needs to work before you then move on to the aesthetics of the space. For example, maybe you have like an open plan dual living dining area and you want it to be a space where you can kind of have family meals, watch movies together on a Friday night, but you also want it to be a space for entertaining and, having people over. So that is an example of how you want it to function. Do you want it to be just a family area? Do you want it to be for people coming over and sharing your space with other people? And what does that look like? Does that then mean that you need to have a dining table that can extend to suit more people? Or maybe you need more seating, maybe you need more flexible lighting options. It's all these little things that if you think about each scenario, what is it that you're going to need in that scenario? Is this making sense? Do you want to have your TV on display, or maybe you're just going to have a projector that you can pull out and then put away when it's not in use if you're not really big on having your TV on display, which I get. So then that means, do you need to have a blank wall space for that projector? Does it need to be a designated zone for the TV? Or will you have it sort of moving around on wheels so that you can kind of make the space more flexible? It's all these little things that have to work to suit your everyday lifestyle. Once you have figured out the planning and the functional elements of the space, you can then start to lean into the fun stuff, the aesthetics, how you want the overall space to look and feel. And that's really the part where I think a lot of people get stuck. I think when you're looking at planning, it's quite logistical and you're kind of taking that emotional, subjective side out of it. And it's more just about, for the millionth time, how you want the space to work. So I know I've spoken about Pinterest being the devil at points. However, in this step, I actually do want you to go and create a Pinterest board that is going to be for the area that you're renovating. Let's just say in this instance, it's your living room. Create a Pinterest board. Start adding as many pins as possible to that board, and it doesn't have to be super aesthetic. It just has to be any image where there is an element of that image that you're drawn to, that you really like, and maybe you don't know why you like it, but save it to the board and just keep going. Add as many pins as you can with the time that you have to do so. Step away, come back, do it another day. But just keep adding pins. Maybe there's a certain finish that you really like for your living room. Maybe it's a different type of furniture that you really like. And what you're going to be left with is a million different images, which are probably going to have a lot of different aesthetics and styles, but that's okay. I think this is the point where you can go one of two ways. You can either get really overwhelmed and try to repeat the exact image, like recreate the aesthetic, or you can do what I'm going to tell you to do next. So instead of looking at the overall image and the overall style or aesthetic that the image is portraying, I want you to look at what is the one or two things in the image that you are really drawn to. Is it a type of stone that was used? Is it that there's a lot of timber? Is it that it's really warm and inviting? Or maybe there's more cool tones? Or maybe it's the way that the interior has been styled. Whatever it is, make note of what that thing is that you're drawn to. You can either write it down or you can just keep it top of mind, but go through each image and say, okay, what is it about this image that I like? Is it some of the finishes that they've used? Is it the color palette? Is it the furniture? It's really endless. And then if there is an image that you're not really sure why you picked it out or you're not really drawn to it, just remove it from the board altogether. What you're going to be left with is quite a curated mix of images that are each going to have like a common theme or like a reoccurring motif. And that is the thing that I want you to pay attention to, the thing that you're instinctively drawn to. This is going to help you to really define your interior design style. If, however, you're looking at these images and there are elements that do not align with your limitations and restrictions, for example, there's something on there like glass coffee table with really sharp edges, that's not going to align with having kids. I would say that is just like an accident waiting to happen. So look at your list of limitations, look at the image. Can you incorporate that into your space while staying true to the limitations, or is it just not going to work? If that's the case, get rid of the image, forget about it. Sorry, I know you maybe wanted to do it, but we're trying to keep it succinct and to the point and helping you to make decisions based on you and your space and your current situation. Now that we have completely collated this Pinterest board, you should have a quite concentrated selection of images that have that common theme running through them. I want you to write out what they are. What are the themes? What are the things that you're drawn to? Not necessarily the style, not necessarily, oh, it's minimal, or oh, it's maximalist, oh, it's Art Deco, it's traditional. That's not necessarily they're kind of quite general words. So I want you to get really specific about what's in the images that you love. Love that it had a butcher's block kitchen island, or love that it had parquet flooring, whatever it's going to be. Write them down so you have those words. And then when you start the design process, these are going to be your anchors. These words, along with your limitations, are going to really guide you every step of the way. So if you're looking at flooring options, okay, is carpet going to work with the theme words that I've picked out and then also my limitations? Yes, okay, we're going to include it. So that's how you need to filter your decisions through these kind of keywords and anchor points as you go. Things to avoid when you're stuck in decision paralysis. For those of us who are not necessarily interior design inclined or don't really know where to start or just get overwhelmed at the thought of it, these are some things that you can avoid that are going to help you to kind of nip it in the bud, so to speak. Relying too heavily on themes and trends for your interiors. I understand that when it comes to trends and things, it can be really easy to get caught up in it, especially if you don't know where you want to start. It's like you're kind of taking someone else's idea and applying it to your space, but oftentimes this is really not going to stand the test of time. It's just going to be a placeholder. It's not going to be a true reflection of what you like and your style. And ultimately, you're probably going to end up resenting it or wanting to change it. And the more we do this, the more of our money we're spending on these things. We're not being super conscious or thoughtful about the items that we're putting in our home, which is why I want you to avoid trying to replicate completely an image or a trend that maybe you've seen online. When you're picking out larger items, maybe it's more sedentary furniture, so like your dining table, your couch, maybe armchairs or big shelving units, I would often try and say to play them down a little bit more if you are particularly stuck. Like, don't go out and buy a really bold patterned sofa because you're not really sure why you're doing it, but rather try and keep those pieces a little bit more subdued so that if you do want to sort of start testing out the waters around color and pattern and like experimentation, you can do that through more, I guess, loose items or easily interchangeable items like homewares and things. Cushions, throws, ceramics, collectibles, art, photos, all those things that are much more easily and much more cost effective to swap out, as opposed to really big ticket items that are much more, we're going to have in our homes for a lot longer. If you're afraid of using color or you don't even want to incorporate that much color into your space, that's okay. Stick to more of a neutral palette on the walls. If that's paint, if it's wallpaper, try to just start with something a little bit pared back, and then again, go and play with things that are more interchangeable. And then if you get more confident with it and you're like, actually, yeah, I really like color, then you can maybe think about painting in a bolder color as you get more familiar with your style and aesthetic. The last thing I'm going to say to avoid is asking people, your friends and family, for opinions. Again, this is just a verbal Pinterest effect. This is just everyone laying in their 2 cents, and it's going to confuse and overwhelm you even more. If you're living with your partner, great. Have discussions with them, talk about what you both like, what you want to compromise on, what you want to include, what your overall vision is for the space. That's great. But I want to suggest that you do not speak to everyone and their dog about what you should do for your space, because again, that is also just you kind of avoiding making the decisions for yourself. And this is a really good practice so that you can get better at it and you can get faster at making decisions around interior design and hopefully just like life in general. Just trust yourself that you can make these decisions. So I hope this has been helpful. To sum it up, let's kind of go through the things that I think you should do. Make decisions based on your limitations and restrictions. Do not try and do something that is outside this scope, because it's just going to end up backfiring. Select finishes, materials, furniture items, and things that are a reflection of your Pinterest board keywords, of the themes that are running through that Pinterest board, because they're the things that you've obviously been naturally drawn to without kind of the, I guess, imposition of trend. These are the things that you know on a deeper level are what you like. Don't get caught up in trends, because we know for the most part that they end up being quickly outdated and we get sick of them and we resent the interiors for them. Rely on loose, interchangeable items like homewares, art, textiles, and things in your space to really bring life and character and color and experimentation to the space, as opposed to using bigger, more sedentary items as the experimentation tool. And lastly, remember that rooms are designed to change as you change and evolve. It is part of the process. I never think that designing a space is, you know, we do it once and that's it, it's done. You're stuck in time. It's like, just as we change, our spaces change. So remember that no matter what you're doing, if you're afraid of commitment in making decisions, there's always the possibility to change. So I hope that helps you get unstuck and out of decision paralysis, because I know it's the worst place to be. You just want to move forward, take action, and really start to get your home and interiors looking like you really want. And I just think at the end of the day, have fun with it. That's all you can do. And you're probably rolling your eyes at me thinking this is not fun. I don't enjoy it. I hate the thought of it. But trust me, these steps will really help you to find your way forward and make the decisions that need to be made so that you can have a beautiful and self-reflecting home. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and until then, I hope you all have a great week. Bye.